Welcome to Lunch Hour Legal Marketing. I am Guy from Attorney Sync, and I am in Austin, Texas, 1 week after Texas loses to Ohio State.
And I am Conrad from Mockingbird, and I have lived on 3 different continents.
And this is Lunch Hour Legal Marketing, where we talk about our travels as well as marketing for law firms. Conrad, as I mentioned, I'm in Austin. I'm at the 8 a.m. Kaleidoscope conference, and I got to tell you, it's a great show.
I think they had you and definitely not me because I did not love their rebranding. But what are you talking about at Kaleidoscope?
I am talking about social media, I am talking about client communication, and I am talking about AI in marketing. So I've got a full slate.
All right. Well done. Well done. Exciting conference. They're doing a great job. 8 a.m.
Yes, it's their inaugural conference. As you have pointed out, they've just completed their rebrand. But, again, I think in the context of some of these bigger conversations about legal technology and consolidation, look, they've got a portfolio that's very compelling across practice management and various verticals and accounting and payments. And so, grateful to get an inside look at what their future holds. But enough about my travel. What else are we talking about today?
I'm going to share my postulations that came to me while I was riding my bicycle thinking about Clio and Scorpion and their partnership, their very close partnership announcement. And then we're going to hear from 6 of our Lunch Hour Legal Marketing speakers. We asked them to provide us with some tactical concepts. We're going to listen to their tactical ideas, and then Guy and I are going to extrapolate on each of those tactics.
Music.
Welcome to Lunch Hour Legal Marketing, teaching you how to promote, market, and make fat stacks for your legal practice. Here on Legal Talk Network.
All right, everyone. If you are watching on YouTube, please take a moment to like, subscribe. Send us a question. Send us some hate mail if you like changing your brand over and over again. We'd love to hear from you. And because we've been talking about a brand a little bit, here's another episode you might like. What's in a brand? Law firm branding from Lunch Hour Legal Marketing. That was we've done 2 of those fairly recently, both of which were fairly well received. So Guy, you and I have talked about this before because I couldn't help but share it with you, but I was on my bike doing a long bike ride where some of my best thinking happens. And I was thinking about the interview or the episode that you and I did with Scorpion and Clio. And you and I kept saying it just felt dissonant because it was this sole preferred provider. What did they call it, Guy?
Yeah, sole preferred marketing
partner,
I think.
Yeah. And it just felt so off to me that Clio, which has been all about openness and connecting with people, would be so tight with and at an exclusive level with a solo marketing provider. And we actually pushed them. Guy, you pushed them at the end of that interview, and you asked, is Clio clients, are they going to get pushed to Scorpion, right? And the answer was yes. It was, they weren't shy about it. It was a resounding yes. Guy, you felt that was dissonant, right? It felt off-brand.
I was surprised.
Okay.
Again, my hang up, this is your reflection. My hang up was with Soul. It didn't make a ton of sense to me that Clio would be like, this is our sole marketing provider.
Okay. So I had this epiphany sitting on the bike. And by the way, this is based on this is pure speculation. No one has said
Pure
anything to me. No one's
Conrad
told me
speculation
anything.
too.
This is 100%
I have
Conrad
nothing
speculation.
to do with this.
I think it's very possible that Clio has quietly or is planning on quietly purchasing Scorpion. And that's the only reason that I can come up with where Clio would abandon what has been a very open approach to working with partners and go a complete 180 to a closed approach. It's the only thing that makes sense to me. And so, they do get to this great thing, and they mentioned this, ROI. And this is a thing, like you and I have made fun of ROI for a very, very long time. If you can do attribution and then equate it to ROI, which you can by connecting these two systems together, that can sound like a very powerful thing. The problem, of course, as we discussed during that interview, was I don't buy the attribution modeling at all. And it's too easy to have Google Business Profile take credit for all the offline things that you're doing, which law firms are increasingly doing. You enable online to claim attribution for what's really been demand generated by offline activity, and then claim ROI and make things look all hunky-dory to people who they admitted were under-sophisticated and didn't want to get in the weeds of their own marketing. Does that make sense to you, Guy? I mean, it's plausible.
Well, I would say this. To the second part, you're you're coming to the table with a lot of baggage, my friend. But they could easily the second part of what you're talking about, segmenting brand versus non-brand, they can accomplish that. Like that, you're assuming that's not going to happen. People doing the firms using Clio can simply be like, "How'd you hear about us? Bill referred me." Okay, great. Goes into the Clio as Bill referred me, and that comes out of the bucket that's going to non-brand digital.
And what gets reported back to the end client? Because there's
taking people at their them at their face value, they are providing insight all the way down to the keyword level if you want it. They are providing so you have total access to your data. It's just that the account is not owned by you. You're renting the account, but the data you have access to.
And I think that's where I'm not buying it.
Okay.
Right.
To your first point, I will say this. I think your epiphany makes a lot of sense, right? They have three options. They're in build, partner, buy.
Yeah.
This is public as partner. Partner sure dovetails into buy a lot easier than build does. And so, if it's on their roadmap to be delivering those services, then that makes a lot of sense. The other thing that I would say that, we come to the table with baggage as acknowledging that we are at least rivals. I don't even know if we're worthy rivals, but at least rivals of Scorpion. They, an acquisition, it could change their entire trajectory. Maybe they adopt the Clio ethos of being more open when they are an acquisition. I mean, you laugh, but if Clio's setting the game plan, if they own the company, then that's totally on the table too.
I just can't come up with another reason why Clio would disenfranchise all other agencies, literally disincentivize them from introducing Clio products to their end law firm clients. I can't come up with a reason why you would make that trade-off unless something else was going on. I also looked at Clio's in an acquisition mode right now. We've seen some really, really large acquisitions, and Scorpion's major investment was $100 million back in 2021 from Briegel Sagament. Like, now's the time 4 or 5 years later where you would, as a PE firm, you would be looking to make that type of flip, right? That the timing starts to make sense to me when I look at it this way.
I'll tell you what, you should make sure that Azim covers this topic at Lunchtime Legal Marketing Summit.
He's only got 5 minutes. And that was the fourth time we've pitched Lunchtime Legal Marketing Summit in the first 16 minutes.
We're excited, Conrad. We're excited about the summit.
I know.
We're not even, we're less than 20 days out.
We are going to, speaking of lunch hour legal marketing, we're going to play some clips from some of the speakers that was well received on the last podcast. But this time, Guy and I are going to offer our unvarnished commentary and take those thoughts a little bit further. Adam, who do we have up first? I believe it is Brian Glass. How would you go about evaluating or considering lead gen providers? And then how do you hold their feet to the fire? What are you looking for?
Evaluating or considering lead gen providers. So I think that your best recommendations are going to come from people that you know, like, trust, and have used them before in different markets. I think you have to be familiar with your own bar's ethics rules about what you can and cannot say in an ad. And you need to ask the provider to show you all the ads that they're going to run on your behalf to generate phone calls, because the lead gen providers aren't subject to bar advertising rules, but you are, right? And so if they're running something that runs afoul of your state's rules, they're not going to get in trouble. You are. And so that's how you have to vet them. And you just have to be comfortable that they're actually running and generating compliance based on the ads that they've shown you. The other thing that we've done after you've made the buy is I've just asked potential clients who called through that ad, what was it that you saw that you liked? Like, why did you call us and not any of the other hundreds of data points or people that you could have called because of this? So that's how you go about vetting. And how do you hold their feet to the fire? Well, most of these lead gen companies have their own dashboard. And so it's very easy to see when they told you that they generated a call, that they did in fact generate a call, that it is a live person. And, I think if you're going to do this, you should not be spending money on the non-exclusive leads. And I think you can just ask the end client, like, did they give you my name or did they give you a couple of other names? Right. So that's fairly easy to figure out. And then just like with LSAs, you need to be diligent about going in and marking as booked, not booked, and rejecting cases that don't meet the criteria that you agreed to with the lead gen company.
All right, Guy, what do you think? Any thoughts from Brian? Surprise you?
Brian's a really smart guy. I guess I would add this one, because he talks about getting referrals from other firms. And I think that's a great way to call your list and say, hey, we're going to try these providers. This other firm we know is having great success with them. I think the ethics thing's a huge thing. I would add two more criteria. One, I would say you have to have full transparency with them about how they're going to generate the lead. I want to see the ad copy, because again, to Brian's second point about the ethics, you're on the hook. If the lead gen company goes out there and starts randomly texting people and you're violating TCPA and all this stuff, and you're the lead buyer, I think there's arguments to be made that you're on the hook, at least from a rules of professional conduct standpoint. So I'd demand transparency, like, where are you buying media? How are you buying it? What's the offer? What do the ads look like? Are you like win a free iPad? And then the final thing and Brian mentioned this, but I would just add, and this goes to the point about like the assumption that because your friend's having success, you've got to track your own data. Like the cost per client that you end up paying for these leads, which is basically a function of like how many of these leads because you're paying per lead, convert into a client for you. And then what's the ultimate value of those cases for you? Like, you have got to have that locked down. And so with all of those caveats, like, great, but here's the question. If you go in there and you're like, we're buying Facebook ads and here's the creative everything, and you're paying a premium on those, you got to balance that against running it yourself or delegating it to an in-house person or hiring an agency to do it on your behalf. Because here's the thing. Most of these lead gen companies, they're not generating leads under the lead buyer's brand name. And so if you got to weigh the premium you're paying for a non-branded lead when you could just be running the media yourself with your brand, getting the additional brand affinity equity build up on top of generating the lead yourself.
So
point out.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up good points. I had a kind of corollary to that. There's a massive cost. Brian talked about showing all of the ads. You want to see all of the ads and how they're running them. And like, that is a huge cost to you. Now, I think you can probably do that with a cover your ass approach. Like, hey, we asked them to show all the ads. We don't necessarily have them, but we did ask for that. So I think that's a possibility, just to kind of cover your ass if anything happens. But you're not talking about, I don't know any firms who are purchasing leads from lead providers who are going through and auditing the individual creative. It's a huge expense. The other thing that he said that I was surprised to hear, especially from Brian, was the don't spend money on non-exclusive leads. My read on don't spend money on non-exclusive leads is really, A, you better know that you're getting them at a much lower cost. And B, if you have a fast and amazing intake system, that can actually be, from an economics perspective, a better play, right? And the reason I say I was surprised here to come from Brian is that I'm making the assumption, given what I know about Ben and Brian, that they have a fast and really good intake system. And so therefore the economics for that might work better. The flip side is fast can come across as aggressive, right? And so I think that's something to balance, but that did surprise me. We have Delisi Friday. Have a listen. Tactically, what are most firms not doing that they should be?
If I'm being honest, my favorite response to this question is most firms are not getting the lawyers within their law firm excited about LinkedIn when they should be. So many lawyers are on LinkedIn. It is free 99, and people do business with people. They don't usually do business with a brand. If a law firm can get the other associates in their law firm excited about LinkedIn, talking about what they're doing, talking about the law firm, they are going to be so much more successful because they have so many people within the firm helping do the marketing for them. And I think more lawyers should be on LinkedIn.
I'm politely letting you go first because I went first the last time.
Conrad, how would you react to Delisi's sentiment that more lawyers should be on LinkedIn?
Well, this goes back to something that I think is really important and often overlooked from a marketing perspective is the good old name search, right? So you may work for a large law firm. Most of the lawyers at that large law firm are not they're not the rainmakers. They're not the face of the firm. They're not the person that is being hired, right? Why I'm attracted to this firm. It's someone else. The first thing that someone is going to do when they get connected with a lawyer under the brand of a bigger firm is check out that attorney. There's name search, there's vetting that goes on that. LinkedIn is such an amazingly effective winner of name search, and it is what people want to validate when they are researching an attorney. So 100% agree on this. Delisi mentioned the value of brand versus people. You and I have been talking about brand so much, and yet it is the person that becomes really important down at the nitty gritty of we're engaging with this law firm. I'm really engaging with this person. So I think from a pure vetting perspective, not even a networking perspective, but from a pure name search, SEO vetting perspective, LinkedIn is something that is not thought about enough.
Yeah, I'll just reiterate, I'm thinking about, I'm at this conference meeting people. You know what the first place everybody's connecting on? It's LinkedIn. They're not going to Facebook and adding me as a friend. They're not going to follow me on Instagram. They're connecting with me on LinkedIn. We've talked about this before, the idea of advertising to referral sources. LinkedIn is the place to do that in the professional context. If you're a law firm that serves a local community and you get referrals from other, whether they're lawyers in other practice areas or professionals that are not lawyers, LinkedIn is the place to get your message out and connect with more of those great referral sources and stay top of mind with them.
You said something. I can't remember when I wrote this down, but I was talking to you when I did. You mentioned about advertising to referral sources, and I wrote this down during this conversation. I'm going to read it because it's still sitting on my desk. I'm taking the LinkedIn concept and Delisi's point and your read on this and extending it further. I wrote down, referral marketing isn't about doing great work. It's about marketing to people who don't need you right now. And I think most of the time we think about referral marketing being a reflection of the amazing job that we're doing. And that is a massive misperception. The the missing link in this, the missing LinkedIn, in this is staying in front of those people. And one of the greatest ways to do that is through LinkedIn. Well played.
And we are super grateful to Jonathan Hawkins, who's an outside general counsel to law firms, for his post, speaking of LinkedIn, on LinkedIn. Here's what Jonathan writes. If you're a law firm owner, you should be listening to Lunch Hour Legal Marketing. Guy and Conrad do a fantastic job with that podcast. He was catching up on a recent episode on branding, positioning, and messaging. And this is just a teaser. Go connect with Jonathan on LinkedIn to see the rest of his post and to catch the episode that he's referring to and get in the conversation. Love to see you there.
All right, we're going to hear from 4 more LHLM Summit speakers, starting with the man with the best beard in digital marketing, Charley Mann. How do you grow an email list, right? That's one of the biggest things. It's an asset you have to develop. What's your best way to make that happen? And because no one wants to give out their email address. No one likes lawyers. You got 2 problems to solve. How does that work?
Okay, so we can solve that, people don't like lawyers by saying, okay, you're not going to be lawyerly in what you publish. And the way that you're going to add people to this list is as you do intakes, boy, oh boy, I hope that you are gathering contact information from people so that way you can add to your list there. When you're out networking, are you swapping business cards, et cetera, getting people onto your email list? It should be grown in a warm fashion. I don't believe in going on, say, a website and scraping a bunch of email addresses and dumping them on a list. Don't do that. Have a warm point of contact so that way when you start showing up in the inbox, they go, oh, cool. I just met that person the other week, and they're not sending me the boring lawyerly content. Although, in my opinion, there's a lot of lawyer content that is actually really fascinating that makes it very easy to publish quote unquote lawyer content. Because lawyers are all over television. They're in movies. I think that law firms are secretly tabloids in the making, and you can publish sensational content just out of what you view as an everyday case that people will eat up.
All right. This is a hard one because growing an email list, I do believe in the value of the size of an email list. It's hard to make a email campaign work when you've got, 20 subscribers. He mentioned intake, which is an obvious one. He mentioned swapping business cards, which is an obvious one. But Guy, I would love some more creative approaches and positive approaches to gathering email lists. If you're a lawyer, people don't want to give out their email. And what are your thoughts?
They do if you're offering them free tickets to their favorite sports team.
There you go, baby.
They do if you're giving them free dinner at their favorite local restaurant.
Okay. So
what's in it for me? What's the trade? Email's a trade, right? I'm going to give you my email. I'm going to opt in to get messaging from you. And again, this is only one context. And in fact, I don't even think this is the context that Charley's talking about, but I'm super grateful and excited to hear his talk in particular. I can't wait for you, me, and Charley to sit in a side conversation so you can fight it out about the value of email. I'm big on email. I think, but again, it goes to the point that you're making, Conrad, is if you're sign up for my firm's email newsletter, don't be surprised when it doesn't work. But, hey, you want to talk about affinity? I'll give you another example. My friend Ken Levinson is doing an online book club. Sign up for the online book club by subscribing to the online book recommendation email list, and then do a Zoom call once a month to talk about the book that you've read. You're attracting affinity. People that are into reading and are interested in the topic, they join and sign up, and you're talking book reviews. Nothing to do with how hard Ken fights. Nothing to do with how big his verdicts and settlements are. Nothing to do with how many years of experience he had. He loves to read. He wants to gravitate with other readers. I think email plays a huge role in that. Email's sacred, right? You can't spam email. Everybody's going to unsubscribe. So you gotta treat it right. But I think it's a huge undervalued asset for a lot of firms, which I think Charley was trying to say.
I'm going to pitch Charley a little bit on this. One of the things that we have not ever talked about at Lunch Hour Legal Marketing is the importance of deliverability and open rates and what you need to do with your list in order to maximize the likelihood that someone is actually going to do something with that email. It is easy enough to send out thousands of emails and have them never actually reach the inbox. And that's something that Charley's going to be talking about. We have never, ever covered that on this pod. It's a good piece of content that most people do not think about. Okay, up next, Brittany Green, co-founder of New Era.
When I was in my firm, I started my in-house role as the client happiness coordinator. And so we were doing unreasonable hospitality before we even knew that there was a name for that, right, in the greater world. So we were doing so much unreasonable hospitality in our firm through me in that role without even realizing it was this specific idea. So we were doing things like sending birthday cards, which we found ways to do that automated, but still have them be handwritten. I'd get off the phone with a client because one of my duties was checking in routinely to make sure they were happy with our service. And if they were having a particularly rough day, I'd surprise them with a little, their favorite Starbucks drink from an Uber Eats delivery to their doorstep. So there's those little gestures that would happen. If they had surgery, we'd send them Milk Bar cookies, right? If they got married, we'd send them a little gift. I tried to find their registry and find something off of it to send. So doing these little one-off, they feel one-off, but they were still strategic, right? Because we had sort of a system in place.
Get yourself a Brittany.
Yeah, get yourself a Brittany, right? Totally agree. One of the things, and Guy, I don't know if you see this with your clients. I have a handful of clients. It's not a lot, but a handful of clients where there's someone who's at least their job or part of their job is checking in, right? They're almost a third party. They're not involved in the matter. They're not involved in any of the legaling. They're not involved in anything other than, hey, how are things going? It's almost like having that third party. When you drive behind a truck and it's like, how's my driving? Like, it's that job at a law firm. To have someone dedicated to that is there's some level of scale that's required for that. But it doesn't mean that you can't have someone who's responsible for how are things going. I love this.
Yeah. And again, my hunch is, again, as a plug for the summit, my hunch is that a lot of law firms, they're not even thinking like this. And this is one of those mindset shifts where you're like, this isn't about what I'm delivering from a legal services delivery standpoint. This is I am focused on my client, purely on the overall experiences that they're having, how our firm is making them feel, that are well beyond scheduling depositions and settlement negotiations and all the other stuff that you do from a service delivery standpoint. To me, this talk and getting to know Brittany and following what Brittany's putting out in the world is the stuff that is the game changer in terms of getting more people to talk about your practice. Because again, clients have these unreasonable service experiences, and they tell other people about them, and they write about them, and they put them in reviews. And like, this stuff can change so much of perception about your practice and really change the entire conversation about what it's like to be a client at your firm.
And I'll take that further. You said it changed the perception of your practice. It changes the perception of how well you are doing your job as a lawyer, even though it has nothing to do with your lawyering. You may be, and this is what we call bedside manner with doctors. Same thing exists in legal, but they are equating the quality of your legal services with the delight they feel while they're using those legal services. And that's a Harry Beckwith principle from Selling the Invisible. Most of your clients will never have an ability to truly understand if you're doing a good legal job. They will have a really easy job of understanding how you make them feel while you're doing that legal job. And that becomes a reflection of how you're doing as an attorney. All right, next, Josh Hodges, who is taking over Ohio, small town by small town. How do you find your little influencers, right?
I think the algorithm knows I do a lot of local content and I consume local content. So then I start seeing people and I'm like, oh, this chick in Columbus keeps talking about, small towns in Southern Ohio. So I follow her and I message them. I have Brooke, my outreach person now is finding them for me too. That's part of her job So she's been setting me up coffee dates and lunches with local content creators. I've probably met 10 or 15 and I've done videos with 3 already, and it's not expensive. I mean, they're going to do like a where they went to lunch video anyway.
Right.
So if I give them a couple $100, put me as a guest star in it, and I buy them lunch, I mean, and I get all their viewers seeing me. The cool thing is, and what I hope is, I'll pay them here or there. I'll do a collab video for free with them or whatever, give them some swag. But then they're following me and they comment and like my stuff because now we're kind of friends. And now their people are more likely to see it because of that.
He should not be telling people this. It's too good.
Please rewind the podcast if you're over 40 years old and you know what rewinding is. And don't listen to Josh Hodges. Too good. We've got, he understands this local influencer better than almost anybody. I think the key here, the thing that he did not say, Guy, and this is what I was trying to bait him into with my question. He did not say, find the person who's local, who has the largest influencer list, the largest number of followers. Like, this was about, he was sourcing these people by seeing how they are engaged in the community, not their, Facebook body count.
The original local social butterfly.
All right. Love that guy. Finally, LSAs, super hot. We haven't talked about LSAs for a hot minute, Guy. I'm going to say we got 5 or 6 episodes you have to go back before you and I talked about LSAs. We're going to hear from Thomas Glasgow about local service ads. Your opinion, what is the best kind of tactical approach to managing LSAs?
Best tactical approach. I think the biggest lever that law firms have that can be an advantage to them over other firms is what happens during the actual call. So I think that's the secret sauce, if you will, of running a successful campaign, is understanding that Google, one, is listening to that entire call, right, and doing whatever they want with that data. So being aware of that, right? But then understanding, okay, if Google wants to provide this great searcher experience, and they have all this data that they're gathering, how do we show them the searcher experience that they want to see, right? And so how can we design intake processes to, one, say things that we think Google wants to hear, not say things we think they don't want to hear, right? Because every single thing that happens on that call is a data point that influences how your LSA ranks. And so from a tactical standpoint, I think it's developing those systems and processes and training intake on them to make sure that that entire conversation is completely crafted in a way to influence the AI how we want.
Love this. I don't know what to say. I feel like we should just mic drop on that because I've got nothing to add.
I would just add, which is all in alignment with what he's saying, our near media partnership, which you'll get a chance to get to see David Min present. He's got some data on LSAs. And all of this rings true. Love them or hate them, they command high visibility on search. They have a lot of features that a lot of the other listings don't have. Google's an ad platform. If you can figure out your economics for LSAs and maximize your value as well as in alignment with Google's, you will win.
You will win. I love this. We're going to end the episode with you will win. Thank you for spending a little longer than typical. We went long this time. We got 49 minutes on the record. We'll see how much of this Adam and Allie cut out for our rambling. But thank you for spending time with us. As always, we would love to hear from you. We would love to see you in person at one of the many places that Guy and or Conrad will be. Be well. We'll catch you next episode. Reminder, there are just 39 tickets remaining at the time of this recording. So it's going to be even worse. I'm creating a false sense of scarcity right now. A dirty marketing tactic.
Money makes a it makes a world go round. Money makes a world go round. Yeah, money make a world go round. Yeah, money make a world go round.